gentlemen, welcome to SNB Talking Sport. I'm your host, Spinksy, and we have a cracking lineup for you this week. Ness, let me introduce you first. How was your weekend?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Spinks. Good week, good weekend. Lots of work. Brumbies, I don't even know. The weekend felt so long ago because we're a few days late. We'll get to why we're a bit late this week on our podcast.
At the Canberra show over the weekend?
Yeah. Well, you ran through the list of events, and I think you attended more than I did. So well done, Spinks, for keeping the Canberra economy ticking along.
I took my two children to their first ever Canberra show. I hemorrhaged money while I was there, but it was good. It was very good. So
it deters you from going, because of how expensive it is.
Crazy, man. I reckon it was their first time there, so I went a bit over the top, but I think I spent $350 in about 4 hours. Yeah. And they kept wanting to go on everything. And so we did the catching the ducks, and we did the ping pong ball in his mouth. And then old mate's like, come and throw the basketball in this basket thing. And I'm like, that's fucking rigged. What do I want to do that for? I know it's rigged. They're like, oh, I want to have a go, Daddy. And I'm like, no, I can't. There's no way. But you can't tell a 9-year-old that that's rigged because they just don't understand. So, yeah.
You can't even tell me I'd still try to beat it.
Yeah, exactly. Every time, man. Now, Beau, it's nice of you to be here this week. We are a few days late. Can you tell the good people that watch our show why we are 2 days late?
Yeah, that's on definitely to all the listeners. That's on me. We're a couple of days late because usually we would record here on a Monday. My footy team, we had a mad Monday on Monday, which I barely remember. I was talking to Spinks off air. I know I called you to be like, the podcast not going to be happening tonight. And I was definitely in a state of mind that would not, actually probably would have been good for the podcast, but I would have been talking some shit. So, what was that?
We could have got bulk followers, actually.
Yeah, we could have. Who knows? It would have been messy. I was in a state of mind. Oh, God. And I'm sure Spinks can talk more about it because I remember about 1% of the conversation we had. I was on another level. So
it was very good. I think you said
sorry, everyone.
15 times, but yeah. It's fine. But speaking of, I went down to watch the ACT Grand Final on Saturday afternoon, and conditions were fantastic. I think we had 80 millimeters of rain in about 3 hours the game was on, and it was horrible. It was savage, and I stood there the entire time in the bad weather. But you guys got the result in the end. You won 20-14. I expected you to dominate, but they seemed to come out of the blocks on fire.
Yeah, I didn't expect it so much as we had played them just a few weeks ago and kind of handled them pretty easy, 50-something to 17 or something like that. But with the weather, just it kind of helped their game more than ours. And I'm the first to admit, not real good at throwing a wet football. And I think that kind of definitely hurt us in the end, stopped us kind of moving the balls as well as we were. We come out hot to start. I think we scored our first 2 drives of the game, and then scoring kind of dried up for us when the rain poured down. And that
the field literally backed up with water, and there was about 3 inches of water on about 30 yards of the field. So if you guys hadn't seen this video on YouTube somewhere, so go have a look, actagridiron.com, have a look at it. But yeah, you guys led 14-7, I think, at halftime, and you, my friend, happened to score at the very end.
Yeah, it did. Did I guess by the stat sheet got the game scoring touchdown, but that's just I'm the beneficiary of play calling. Everyone else does all the hard yards, and then we get close to the end zone and my number gets called, and then I get all the credit. And sometimes that's just the way it goes, but certainly not my best game I've ever played. But the boys hung in there. Defense was out of this world. And while I've got a second, just thanks to you, Spinks, for coming down in 3 hours in that. You couldn't have paid me to be there if I didn't have to be there. My God.
the way that game finished, I think you scored, you're up 20-7, I think, and there was about 2 or 3 minutes left, and then they scored and then got the football back. And I thought, this is the ending I want. I've stood here in the rain all day. I was about 12 deep, I reckon. That's so I was very happy to be there. But you guys got the result in the end. And is this actually your last game, or are you going to get your arm twisted to come back again next year?
No, it is. It's got to be my last. Heaps of the boys on Monday too were in my ear, wanting me to come back. So I'll play. There's a state game there's 1 or 2 games, so I'll play those. But after that, then hanging them up. The end of an era.
Yeah, there's a vicious rumor getting around. There's a vicious rumor getting around that you guys are on the lake on Monday dressed as pirates. Is that true?
Yeah, we were. That Monday was a pirate themed party. I saw way too many naked men that day, but the pirate outfits didn't stay on for too long. That's basically what happened. But we all had a ball. Everyone had a million drinks, too many. Got ourselves in a little bit of trouble on social media, just because the team we versed in the final, they've got a little rap song which is fucking sucks. And we decided, I stick by it. It was funny.
It was funny, hasn't it? I loved it.
We did their little rap song, and I put something on social media and tagged the Wolves in it, and that went down like a lead balloon to the coaching staff at Gungarland. But in credit to them, they replied to my story just on social media, and they saw the funny side of it. So I had a quick chat to whoever runs their social media and said, look, I'm glad you see the funny side of it. And the coaching staff, however, has come out and not been that happy, and has actually said that it could affect ACT in putting a team together because he thinks we're too cocky or arrogant or bad sportsmanship, which is ironic
considering how the start of the game went on Saturday afternoon when they were all up in your face doing the exact same thing. So, yes.
And they haven't all been all year on the sideline. You've been there. They act like fucking parrots. So, I don't regret a thing, man. But it was always good.
That was so good. That was the best. All right, let's turn our attention now to the NRL. The NRLW kicked off on the weekend. There's 6 teams in the NRLW. We had Winton, the Dragons, the Eels, and the Broncos. I watched a few of the games on Sunday when they were on. These girls are savage. Like, I played rugby league at home for 5 or 6 years. I never got hit as hard as these women do on the weekend, and I couldn't do it. Like, it is unbelievable. They've got no fear at all, and you see bigger hits in this than you do with the dudes, and I just don't get it. These girls are savage. It's unbelievable.
My body hurt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're entertaining to watch. I think the NRLW is doing such a good job. It's good footy. It's entertaining, and they have a lot of skills. So it's something I'll be trying to watch more of for sure.
I reckon there's 2 things. I reckon they've really, I think they've really thought about how they're slowly expanding it too. They haven't really tried to rush out and do too much too soon. So I actually think they've got the model quite right. But I actually reckon the caliber of what we're seeing, they're really good close to the line now. And I think if you go back a couple of years ago, you could probably be a bit skeptical of the fact they couldn't kick so great, and sort of that, last tackle play close to the line was probably not their best. But I really think it's changed. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed with what I saw on the weekend.
Yeah, these girls will be, and hopefully there's a few more teams in it from next year, because the Sharks obviously deserve a team in everything. So we'll see what happens going forward. Speaking of the Sharks,
that means you can lose everything then that way.
Let's turn our attention to the men's, and the Sharks had a massive win over the Dogs on Monday night, 30-6. The Raiders also had a win. The Raiders are 2-0 in pre-season, so that means they'll go 0-16 in the regular season, because no one likes the Raiders. The Knights, the Roosters, and the Panthers all went down. So both of your teams went down over the weekend. Should have been full strength sides. Ness, how do you feel about the Roosters going down in a trial match?
Look, I think it's really interesting, right? Because when we talk about netball a bit later, everyone who's telling me that the Vixens winning that doesn't matter because it doesn't count, it's preseason. So by that same token, this doesn't matter that the Chooks got flogged twice.
Okay, you got me. I know you got me. Okay.
We'll go with that. We'll go with that.
So how was it to see your Knights go around? How was it to see your Knights go around this weekend? I think they got beaten twice, haven't they? Now.
Yeah, they have. I think it's kind of it's a satisfying thing. It just gets me used to this is what we're going to cop all year. So it's going to be a long year for us Newcastle fans. But in saying that, if you're taking, I think the preseason's more about what you see on the field as far as combinations and how you look to the eye more than the result. And coming up against Melbourne, even if they're not full strength, but they put out a pretty good side. Newcastle in any kind of matches isn't going to keep up with Melbourne. So my hopes weren't too high, but we got to see a lot of what the new combinations will look like and some of the boys. And I've got low expectations, but the boys looked all right out there. So it was just good to have another week of watching some footy.
Look, we haven't spoken about this yet on the show or off the show, but next week we're going to do the two teams we think will be in the grand final and the team that gets the wooden spoon. So the three of us will do that next week. So that's your homework during the week, guys. Right? So we'll start with that.
Yeah, Newcastle might be a favourite on one of those.
It's 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, 2 grand final. One out. Now let's talk about our friend of the show, the most favourite dude we love on the show, Latrell Mitchell. Now, Latrell has had a week taken off his suspension for his unfortunate incident in the finals last year when he accidentally touched someone from the Roosters. Now, he's had a week taken off. He said because he should have been picked for the All-Star match. I understand he probably would have been in the All-Star game. So yes, maybe a week off would help him. The precedent has now been set. And one of the young fellas from the Melbourne Storm, Braden Smith, his name, yes, he's been done for drugs, which is an off-field incident. And he's had a week taken off his suspension too for the same thing. Is that right that he can have a week taken off his for an off-field incident for a game that he wasn't going to be a part of, whereas Latrell has had a week taken off for the same thing? I don't see how that's relevant. Ness, we'll start with you because you are an advocate for Latrell coming back early.
Yeah, okay, we can go with that.
I heard you've got a Latrell Mitchell tattoo, actually.
I do.
Yeah. Tell Mum. Look, it's set a complete precedence, and anyone now that puts a case forward to the NRL really should be granted that kind of exception, I suppose. So, yeah, it's not good. I have nothing further to say. Because like he had, yes, sure, he may well have been picked for that team, but anyone now that, well, if you don't have the opportunity to have or to be picked in a rep team, therefore, and you get done and then you want a week less on your suspension, you're not afforded the same thing. So you're completely disadvantaged in my view.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. I'm not sure what's right or wrong if it's if on the field versus off the field should make any difference. I'm fully supportive of it. It should count towards the games you've missed, and I agree with that, which is what's happening. But like Spinksy said, whether it's on the field or off the field, that's kind of tough. There's a lot of controversy around it though, because there's some other guys which haven't been able to play in the All-Stars game, but haven't had the week taken off of them. So something to keep an eye on, something which the NRL will, I'm sure they'll do a better job of it moving forward and try and get some clarity. But that's just how it feels at the moment. It's kind of in a gray area, and it's just something which they have to work towards and kind of get a smoother way to deal with everything moving forward, I say.
Look, the only thing I'm not happy about is Latrell was supposed to come back in week 3, which was South versus Roosters, and now he's back in week 2. So he gets a warm-up game before he gets another 8 weeks. So,
oh, geez, it's going to be fun to watch that.
That's going to be so good. That was going to be the best. Speaking of rivalries that we love, Super Rugby is into week 2 at the moment. The Waratahs went down to the Reds in the New South Wales and Queensland derby. That means the Tars are 1-1, and the Brumbies went on to beat Fiji by a fortune. So the Brumbies are now 2-0, and they lead the Australian Conference, if I am correct, Ness? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, well, it's all the one. It's all the one now. So it's the Super Rugby Pacific. So yeah, we're sitting pretty at the top.
And coming up this week, we'll talk about it later, but the Tars and the Brumbies are live from Canberra Stadium, which is right over here. So if you guys are there on Saturday night, 7:30, it'll be huge. So we can't wait to see the Waratahs win. That'd be great. Nice.
Yes. Oh, yuck. Hey, coming live from Canberra, let's hope they lose.
What is wrong with you? Who made him boss?
Let's talk about cricket.
On this podcast to talk about what's wrong with it.
Let's talk about cricket now. Australia is touring Pakistan for the first time in 24 years. This is not only good for the sport, but it's good for other sports as well. I think Australia's the number 1 test nation in the world at the moment, and for them to be the number 1 team, they should be able to beat teams in their own yard. They've beaten India over there, which was hard. We've beaten England in their own backyard, but now to go to Pakistan and try to win over there, this is a big thing. First time in 24 years. I think it was about 15 years back. The Sri Lankan team was over there, and their bus got shot up by the military over there. So this is the first time that a team's actually really travelled over there. There's been a few threats on the Aussies, but I think the game looks like going ahead. Really good for us because it starts at 4:00 on a Friday afternoon. So it's a good time for us after work to sort of come home to watch it. So big ups to the Aussies who are over there, and I'm sure the security is going off at the moment. Ness, how hard would it be to kind of organise an event in a country like that?
Yeah, I can't even imagine, to be honest. We've obviously lived through, COVID world, which presented its own challenges, but this is absolutely next level. We talked a little bit last year around sort of all of those other things. COVID sort of took over the world, didn't it? And all of these other things are real, and they happen, and they haven't gone away as such, but they've sort of come to the fore now. So yeah, kind of scary. Credit to everyone that's involved in making these things still happen in a reality, and hopefully the safety of everyone involved, so the players and the officials that are travelling over, but the fans that hopefully get to go and watch still. Hopefully everyone remains safe. As an organizer, you just want people coming to your event, having a good time and leaving safely, and that's the measure of success, really. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Can I just put you on the spot? Like, what would be involved, like if you're organizing that for the extra safety and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
just to make sure we're clear.
There's a fair bit. So in terms of, the sport will put out its sort of basic level of security and safety that it expects that the city and the venue adhere to and apply to the match. But in a situation where there's heightened threats, then there may be additional requests that you're calling from police and security, and that may extend to training venues and to hotels and, airport escorts and that sort of thing. So certainly for the bigger tournaments that have been had, certainly in Canberra, there's that level of support from, right down from the military and police to private security at all of those stops. So yeah, there's sort of a bit involved in it, and various people then get involved in making sure that that's safe. So that's just sort of probably more the team protocols and the official protocols. And then obviously you just have a greater deployment at the venue itself. So, which comes at a cost. So again, all of these things add up.
That was going to be my next comment.
Yeah, some serious costs when you think of, what one guard costs, let alone additional guards and then additional police and then military costs and things. So, we just saw the protesters in Canberra a couple of weeks ago, on a side note here, but that was a $1.9 million expense to police for about 10 or 12,000 protesters. So
and they're still here.
Oh, wow.
They're actually still here. They're in the city now. I have it on good authority. They were protesting outside the Veterans Affairs office this afternoon. Yeah. And they were stopping them from coming in the office. So, yeah, horrible thing.
crazy.
Yeah, horrible
So
thing.
everyone stays safe.
Yeah, exactly right. Let's move on here. We've got a very interesting topic here at the moment. The US women's soccer team is now being paid the exact same as the men's US team. I sort of want to touch on this a bit here. The US women's soccer team are fantastic. If they're not world number one, they should be, or they have been in the past. The men's US team have failed to make the World Cup at least the last year, if not this year as well. They should be getting paid more than the men, but I don't necessarily think this is a precedent across the world. I totally agree with it being on a merit scale. For example, here in Australia, the Matildas should be getting paid more than the men, because at the moment the men suck. They are horrible, and the Matildas are awesome, despite their last loss in the Asian Cup. But on merit, yes, the women over here should be getting paid more. That's just how it is. And a lot of these women, they work as well still. So I'm all for it. Now, Ness, I'll turn to you first. We've always wanted an equal pay scale, but it should also be about the revenue that you can bring in as well.
I think you're absolutely bang on. I think it does.
Me?
Yeah, I know. It's scary when we be on
Write
things.
it down. The 2nd of March, 2022. Dixie was correct.
It's the only time you'll ever be right, mate. So take it. Look, I think you're right, but I think that's the thing. And look, while I'm completely supportive of women's sport, and I've made it really clear I'm not here to be the feminist and token female on this show, you're exactly right. They're still not generating the coverage to, and therefore generating the revenue to make this a more sustainable thing. So they're still not getting the ratings. They're still not filling stadiums. It is growing and it's going in the right direction, but it's still a long way off across many sports. So this is huge. This is actually huge. We have seen a lot of pay gaps closing, with the women's, cricket's leading the way, netball's doing really well, albeit it's an all-female sport technically. I think though that, until we start to see that boost in coverage across, into multiple countries and we see stadiums full, and we're just not yet. AFLW on the weekend for us was a good example of that. So I think we're still a little way off.
I think the latest one to come out is hockey. So Hockey Australia has said they're looking at a bargaining agreement at the moment. So they're looking at paying them the same. So hockey is obviously a different sport, but they're looking at having equal pay across the sport. And that's kind of a different, I think they're obviously on a different scale to what the soccer is. And the women
are the
men. Yeah.
There's a level too, whether it's sort of a tier 1 or tier 2 sport, being whether it's, in the Olympics or it's played across multiple countries and that sort of thing too. So there's those factors to consider. And I guess I don't want to, put down women's sport in any sense, because they do work just as hard as the men, and, certainly training schedules and the commitments and the fact that, they do have to work and they support families, and all of those factors come into it. But, sport is a business, and at the end of the day, if it's not ticking the revenue boxes and attracting sponsors and those things, then it's just not sustainable. So there's some challenges, but huge for the US. And I think we will see some of those gaps starting to close here even further.
Perfect.
Have you got anything to add, or are you just going to, are you good?
No, I'll just nod my head and say it. No, I don't have too much to add. I can't pretend it's something that's, I'm not in all of that, so I can't make too many comments, but I think Ness has just nailed it with the whole, at least we're striving in the right direction, and I think it is a huge step forward. But with all the, like Ness said, the revenue is always going to be a thing, and this is hopefully just one step closer to getting more coverage and more ways to make more money, and then it become more equal across the board. But hopefully one day we get there, but one step at a time. We can't be upset about that. I think we're going in the right direction. It's good.
Look, now let's turn our attention to tennis. Now, I love a good spat as much as everyone else, and I saw a quarterback get screamed at by his coach on the weekend, and that was fantastic to see. But let's talk about tennis. Alexander Zverev, hopefully I pronounced that right, has attacked an umpire with a racket in the Mexican Open and has been ousted. Now, that headline sounded extreme. He hit the umpire's chair. He didn't actually hit the umpire. I've seen rugby league matches at home when I was about 15 where guys would actually attack the referee, and I mean attack the referee. So tennis is a bit of a soft sport, but yeah, Zverev has been suspended and fined a hell of a lot of money, and he will not be returning to the ATP circuit for a while. How do you guys feel about the frustration coming out? This could be something that a young Aussie named Nick would do in the future. Does Zverev have merit in attacking an umpire with a racket?
No, absolutely not. I'm with you. I'm all for the spat. And I think that hitting the chair isn't even as the worst thing that happened. I think he called him a fucking idiot. So I think that's probably more of what... Yeah, which is but maybe the concern, because you're directing it towards the umpire there. If you're just like cussing under your breath or yelling out just in general, that's not as bad. But when obviously hitting the umpire's chair sucks and not good, but when you up to the umpire and you call him a fucking idiot, then I'm not quite sure what you expect's going to happen after that. Like, big
I love it. Look, friend of the show, Novaks, has lost his world number one ranking for the first time in about 18 months after he got knocked out of the Dubai Open in the quarterfinal. Is this a fall? Is he falling down the rankings because he can't be in all these extra tournaments, or is this the end?
Maybe everyone that had a jab has some special superpower, and that's what.
Gee, it's back.
It has a triple jab, but anyway. Look, I think so. I think that's the thing. And where does he go from here? We've talked about it at length, right? But if he wants to be a professional sports person and the conditions of entering and playing mean he has to do this, then for me it's quite clear. You either do it and get on with things, or you choose a different career path. And he could probably retire. He's probably got enough money. I don't know. I think, you know what, a fall from grace, okay with me, and I think pave the way for someone else to come in and take that number one spot for me. I'm done with him. Probably a bit harsh, to be fair,
I wouldn't be sad if I never saw him on court again.
Yeah. Totally agree. Look, let's touch on our final tennis subject now. Our boy Nick has come out and said during the 2019 Australian Open, he had suicidal thoughts and was self-harming during the 2019 Aussie Open. He said the pressure from the Australian media and public didn't help him. And look, we've had Gus Borland on our last show, which is still this show, in the past. If you guys need anyone to talk to at all, reach out to Gotcha for Life. There's some people there. If you guys want to talk to anyone at all, there's always people out there that you can talk to. But our Nick has decided that he was going to come public about this about 3 years after it actually happened. And he's obviously going through a rough time back then. And the more I read into it, the more I can see it's sort of resurfacing over the time. He's had a lot of different flings over the last couple of years, and every time he seems to be out of relationship, he seems to sort of come down a lot more, and his tennis seems to suffer. And from what we now know, he's probably suffering a lot more off the court as well. Ness, is there a lot more to read into this? Like, do we need to be keeping more of an eye on him rather than us bagging him out.
I think he's not alone, to be fair. I think his point around the media and the pressure that media put on these sports people is pretty phenomenal. We're often critical that we always do have a good joke about the league players that are always getting in trouble and those sorts of things, and they are in the spotlight. And I think an element is that they choose to be in that spotlight, and therefore they kind of open themselves up to be judged and criticised to an extent. But I think the media do take it a bit too far, and the public do take it a bit too far. And when we're being told that sports people are having suicidal thoughts and self-harming, there's a role that we have to play as people who consume sport and enjoy sport, but the media have to take some ownership for that as well. So I don't think he's alone. I think you probably could ask many sports people and they would probably feel exactly the same way that he does. Some of them seem to manage it better. Potentially those that are in a sporting team are probably a little bit less focused on. Maybe the solo sports people are sort of faced with greater challenges. And I know a lot of the swimmers have come out to say they've had very similar experiences. So yeah, hopefully he's getting the support that he needs.
100%, you've nailed it.
How does it work with as you said, like your rugby league or your soccer or whatever, or compared to your individual sports like your tennis or your swimming? Surely you've got those support networks there with you. Your boxers have got the trainers, their masseurs, their this, their that. Surely you've got a team around you that protects you from this. Like
most of the time, yeah. Most of the time, but let's not forget Nick Kyrgios has never had a coach. He's always been self-coached. So his circle is probably a lot smaller than even these people that are in an individual sport. They still have a team and they've got a lot of people around him. His network's kind of no one and his brother, like his family. So, and I'm sure that's everyone. I'm assuming anyway that those people closest to him are probably aware, but he kind of doesn't have that external group or more people to get it out.
Like that happens a lot in tennis. You see a lot of tennis players who they actually have coaches and managers and support staff that are all family. I guess that in itself has to be really challenging on the people around you. Like there's absolutely no separating work and personal life too. So they would be feeling the effect of things absolutely and would be riding that wave, and then they're not going home at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and switching off. They're dealing with them then as a member of their family or a partner or what have you. So yeah, I mean, I guess those support networks do exist, but I still think the focal point is on a single person rather than a sport team where you're picking apart maybe 10 or 12 people in a squad. There's nowhere to hide as a solo athlete.
100%.
Right, let's turn attention to netball now. Now, Fox have released a netball channel. There will be Fox Netball. There is Fox AFL. There is Fox League. There is Fox Soccer, maybe? Yes. We now have a Fox Netball channel, and it will be hosted by our famous Aboriginal lady, Hannah Hollis. So very nice to have Hannah looking after this for us. Now, Hannah has come out, and she has said she would like the New South Wales Swifts to win the comp this year. That is her team and her pick for the season. Now, some lady named Laura, what's her name? That's Laura Glatz. She said she wants the Vixens to win it. I'm not sure who they are, but the Vixens, Nessa's team, went on to win the Team Girls Cup. Yes, folks, that is the preseason AFL, the preseason netball comp. It is called the Team Girls Cup. Ness, first of all, explain to me why it's called a Team Girls Cup, and then tell me why your team would not win the comp this year.
Oh, controversial. The name is not great, but they have taken, they've kind of taken this really interesting approach in, really yay the girls kind of thing going on with netball, which I'm just, as you know, I'm not on board with it. That said, the competition is great and it hasn't run for 2 years because of COVID. So really great that all of the teams are able to participate on the weekend. I do have and I was going to put it as part of my good, but I'll talk about it here since we're talking netball. And this is a good story for the Swifts. Like I'm not normally complimentary.
Here we go.
And I haven't.
Geez, get comfortable. Let's go.
Keep record now. Let's go.
Right? Yeah. I haven't even got Vixens winning yet, but I'll come back to that. I do just want to point out though that, so as I said, this tournament hasn't run for 2 years. The Swifts coach, and we've talked at length about how amazing the competition was last year for the Swifts and the Giants, who had to move around 5 or 6 times. The Swifts actually lost their coach to COVID ahead of this tournament. So the assistant coach, who is Beck Bully, a former Diamond as well, gun defender, she comes in and she's the head coach for the tournament for the weekend. Did an amazing job, but fell unwell a day before the finals. So on grand final day, and the Swifts didn't make the grand final, I just want to point that out. But for finals, they were in the playoffs still. 2 of the players who were injured, Helen Housby, who's an English Roses international, gun goal attack, one of Spinks's favourite, and Sam Wallace, who's the other, they step in as players to coach the team on the weekend. Like you're not seeing Latrell coaching the Rabbitohs. Like you're just not doing it. So absolute credit to the girls for being players, but also stepping into a coaching role. Like absolutely fantastic to see. The Vixens did win, and I will say that we had 2 young guns in Samuelson and Budmeyer. I should probably know this, but anyway, 2 young guns who replaced our normal shooting combo. So we've still got 2 guns. We've got Malawi International Kumwenda and Kira Austin from the Giants, who we've recruited to still come into this team.
Good pronunciation.
So I don't know if we'll win, and I have got a bet with my boss at work that we don't think we will win, but we will make the finals. That is my prediction.
Well, we'll be having a side bet off air later.
Yeah.
And you guys will hear about that. Yes, Ness, I would love your team to win the comp this year if my team is not in the grand final with you. So
why are we being so nice to one another today? This is rare.
Strange. Now let's talk about Shane Warne wanting to coach England. Shane Warne has come out last week and said he would love to coach the England cricket team. Apparently, there's rumours getting around that Warney has been trying to coach the Australian team for a few years now, and they were trying to side swipe him for ages and saying you need to work your way up through the ranks. You need to coach a Sydney team first, and then New South Wales, and then to work your way out. And he's like, I am Shane Warne. I'll coach whoever I want. And that was his exact words. So he's approached England about the vacancy they currently have because England are atrocious. Would you guys, I know there's been a few Aussies who have coached different teams. I think an Aussie coached South Africa, one coached Pakistan. There's been a few around. Would you guys be happy for an Aussie to coach England?
To be fair, I'm fine with it. I just don't think he's going to be a top quality coach. I'm weird in how I view coaches, and I think just because you're a great player doesn't always transcend into you being a good coach. So I'm kind of with the work your way up and prove that you can be a coach. Especially this is coming from a guy that was a great leg spin bowler, sure, but I don't think he ever skippered the side. I don't think he really would have had that much input in game plans and setting a field and all that. He had one job and was excellent at it. And I don't think that translates into, okay, you can now teach the 11 men and then the reserves and have a say in who's coming in and out of the team because you could roll a leg spinner out of your hand better than anyone else ever has.
So being awesome at your sport doesn't make you a good coach. So are you going into coaching next year?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
How do you feel? Is it okay that our greatest wicket taker is going to coach our greatest enemy?
I kind of support Beau on this one, and I think you're exactly right.
Both of you.
Yeah, I know. But as we saw on the weekend, 2 great shooters don't make a great coach because the Swifts got flogged. So, I think there's the answer, right?
Just that's in the heart.
But I also think, good luck to England if the best they can come up with is Shane Warne. I don't think they're going to learn about cricket.
We've all seen the video of Warney with the 2 ladies in England all those years back. If you guys haven't seen it, look it up. It's very good. Yeah. Let's turn our attention now to the good, bad, and ugly. Now, we've come full circle as we are doing one each week. So, Ness, this week you get the good, Mr. Kennett, you get the bad, and I have the ugly this week. So Ness, you can lead us off with your good. What do you got for us?
Thanks, Binks. This one really pulled at all of the heartstrings. Obviously, we're in a really crappy spot at the moment with Ukraine and Russia and everything that's happening in the world. And I guess, we talked on the very first show about what makes us tick in terms of sport, and that sport really does connect into the whole world and across every type of industry. I don't know if you saw this, but if you haven't, you have to see this video. A Ukrainian soccer player, so he was born and bred in the Ukraine. He was subbed into the game. His captain threw him the captain's armband, and he launched onto the field. He got a standing ovation from the crowd. There were people in the crowd with signs saying, stop war and Ukraine, we're with you. He was completely reduced to tears and was completely overwhelmed with the whole experience. And I guess for me, it showed, football really is the world's game, but sport does connect and correlate with everyone's feelings and emotions. This is the world at war, and at a football game, irrespective of who was in that stadium, whether they were male, female, young, old, from different races, everyone stood to applaud this guy whose country's in complete shatters at the moment. And it just, it undid me. So if you haven't seen it, jump on and have a look. It's an amazing piece of footage, and to see his reaction, the poor guy can't even stand, and he's just really completely overwhelmed with it. So did you guys actually see it at all?
I saw it. Yeah, I saw it, and I was with you. I wasn't quite reduced to tears, which is rare for me because I'm an absolute princess. But it was a beautiful sight for sure.
Yeah, super moving.
Yeah, it was very good to see, and look, and everyone over there that's going through hard times at the moment. Hopefully, there's an end to it soon. I'm sure it's not easy on you guys. One of my favorite boxers, Vasily Lomachenko, who was supposed to be here in Australia in late May, is now donned the overalls, and he is fighting for them against the Russians. So it looks like he won't be over here in late May, and I was supposed to be going down to Melbourne to watch his fight. So hopefully it ends soon so I can watch him fight down in Melbourne, because that would be an incredible night. So hopefully this comes to an end soon. I'm not exactly sure what's happening over there, but hopefully it comes to a swift end. So, right, Mr. Kennett, you've got the bad this week. What have you got for us?
Yeah, my bad this week is just because the NRL is coming back, and there's going to be probably 26 straight weeks of bad that comes out of the NRL, but I'll start us off early. It's just the amount of, these guys all have, everyone has an opinion of the NRL players, but they do themselves no good when you see them run out, and the amount of filthy haircuts on them, of the dirty mullets. There's Pappenhausen has a beautiful one, and I get it. And then everyone has these filthy mullets and these filthy shaved heads, and you're doing the game no good if there's people like, oh, I'm getting into the sport, maybe I'll watch it, and you see 26 blokes with a mullet running out on the field.
Ness.
Oh, doesn't help.
So Ness and I watched the Raiders trial match on Friday night, and there was a child, and I'm talking like a
kid in the crowd. Oh,
shaved head, the sickest mullet.
I saw it.
I'll get it up on the show so you guys can see it. It's fantastic.
We all talk about we don't want the players fighting because that's what the kids look up to. Well, let's not let them have these filthy haircuts. Otherwise, these poor children in the crowd. And the commentators being like, I bet you no one's ever taken that kid's lunch money.
That's exactly what he said.
They think it's good now. Their 21st comes up, and that's what the footage will be, is that really bad.
It was the best. Yes, I'm with you, mate. There is some hideous haircuts out there. It's terrible.
My bad.
Oh, nice. All right, look, my ugly this week was going to be Liverpool winning over Chelsea in the English League Cup. So I'll briefly touch on this, but I've got a story after this, right? So Liverpool and Chelsea, they drew that they drew
1 second.
scoreless.
I'm gonna have to stop us here. I've
Yeah.
got a new fucking bat for the podcast. I just got a message from my missus being like, "Is it safe to come home?" I haven't responded, and guess
Oh.
who's about to walk through this fucking door and ruin the podcast?
And tell her that's right. You're in trouble.
Oh,
Of course it is. Yeah. Hey, Jess. I can see her on the back. Yes. That's the best. We'll cut it out. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Use money this week.
That's the man.
Like 45 minutes.
Yeah, I
back.
thought so.
Okay, I'll just get some snacks.
All right. Sorry, we're back.
Give me 5 minutes. All good. Righto. Right, let's go. My ugly this week was supposed to be Liverpool and Chelsea in the English League Cup final. They drew scoreless at the end of normal time, scoreless at the end of injury time. Chelsea decided to change out their keeper because their keeper was better at taking penalties than he was at saving them. So Chelsea brings in a new keeper. They ended up going down 11-10. The guy that missed the penalty was the keeper. They
Oh no!
That's not my bad. My ugly this week is, for those of you who don't know, I've got a 6-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. And since my son was about 4 years old, I've been teaching him to play chess, right? And now I'm a bit of a savant at chess, right? And I've been kicking this kid's ass for 5 years straight. Tonight, he decided we wanted to have a game, right? First game, he beat me. He got lucky. All right. The second game, he absolutely kicked my ass. So he won 2-0 tonight. He started dancing around the house, waving his arms around. And I'm like, mate, no one likes a bad sport. And he said to me, that's you. And I went, what do you mean? And he said, because you're bad at sport.
Oh, that's
Sucked in.
I'm done. Yes.
Wrecked by your own child.
So my ugly is my son for calling me a bad sport because I'm bad at sport. So
he must have seen you. He's like pulled out the old footage from when you were a kid.
No, don't be like that. No.
That's right. I'm sorry. Not
Can we
true.
edit
Not true.
that out too?
Keep that in.
You
Poor
suck.
Josh is gonna have his hand.
Yeah, that's rough. How do you feel? Do we need to talk about this, Binks?
All right, let's talk what's coming up this weekend. There's a massive weekend of sport coming up this weekend. If you're in the ACT, Saturday night, the Brumbies and the Waratahs at 7 p.m. 34-15. The Tars are going to win. I've already got it down pat right over here at the stadium. But more importantly, on Sunday afternoon, UFC 272. If you are near a TV at all, go watch UFC 272, 4:30 in the afternoon Australian time, is the fight between Covington and Masvidal. Covington and Masvidal. These two were friends for years, fighting at the same gym, fighting at the same gym for years. And they had an incident with McGregor and these two, and it's all been gone up since. And since then, they've still been fighting at the same space, but they can't be there at the same time. These two hate each other with a passion. They're going to fight in the ring for the same time. 4:30 Sunday afternoon, our time. If you can't get it on TV, let me know. Come to my house and watch it because it is on. I cannot wait. I've been waiting for this fight for about 6 months now, and I am amped. We are 3 days out now, and I cannot wait. So there's no NRL trials. There's no NRL trials this weekend. The AFL's got some trials on, I think, but not really cares. The NRLW is still going in full swing, and there'll be some other Super Rugby matches on, but the only one that matters is the Waratahs against the Brumbies. So let's go.
Let's go.
All right, that's all we have time for this week. There'll be no ACT match with you, Mr. Kennett, this week. What are you going to do with your weekend?
You know, I got to go to the judiciary after my appalling performance on social media. So,
Are you really?
I get me a few. No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I'm going to be a loser. I'm a PlayStation nerd, which everyone knows. A game I've been waiting to come out for like 10 years comes out Friday night. Gran Turismo 7.
Turismo 7,
my
yeah.
weekend. Actually, I got my footy prezzo night on Saturday. That's what I'm doing.
Oh,
I'm going to be a mess again.
our show will be late on next week. We'll be back on Wednesday next week.
I'll see if I'm actually able to join you on Monday, because I have my first netball comp day on Saturday, and I haven't played in a netball comp, which is a whole day thing, for about 10 years. So
Yeah, I was going to mention that next. They're expecting up to between 40 and 80 mil on Saturday here in the ACT. Does it still happen in the rain?
we're pretty tough, us netballers. We play, it's really good. It's like ice skating plus netball. No, like back home, if there was one drop of rain, you would have your whole weekend cancelled of netball. Like it used to devastate me as a child, but here we seem to play through the wind and the rain and the hail, and it's just lightning they get a bit scared about, apparently. So who knows? We'll see how we go. See if I'm still standing.
Was already stupidly dangerous on your knees. We'll just play it in the wet as well.
It's just a shout out to Elastapast and any physios that are willing on Saturday.
Come sponsor the show. It's very nice. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys all next week. Thanks for coming in. Hooroo.
Take care.
Bye.
Yeah.